Hey guys, so today we have Rachel with us for this video for a specific reason because in the previous ones I talked about how I got to partnership and how it helped me and different steps that I took that worked really well for me. But what I didn't refer up to is kind of like a lot of behind the scenes stuff. And I feel like a lot of streams out there, most people see like the surface where they see like the streamer having a great time and everyone have a great time, but then as soon as the stream turns off, then nobody really gets to see like behind the scenes kind of thing of like how much sacrifices you make and all that other stuff too. um, when I first started to stream, there was kind of like I kind of when I first initially thought about how I wanted to set up, I was like, okay, I want to have, like I said, I want to have a specific microphone, I want to have a specific setup, all this stuff. And in my mind, I didn't think that like it could get not that I'm like a crazy streamer or like I'm like super popular and like that, but I didn't think it would get to where it is now. I kind of assumed that it was just gonna be like I assumed that it was kind of just gonna be like a small stream for a very long. I mean, I'm still a small streamer as it is right now, but I think I put a lot of focus into my stream like right away, and I think I could kind of tell that I was kind of like shifting away from like other things. And then it took a while to kind of notice like what I was doing, and and kind of take a step back from that. So yeah, so when I first started streaming, I went powerhouse and I wanted to stream like all the time. And I was like, okay, I want to stream more and more and more. And like if I got a big host, I would be like, okay, I got to stay on for like an extra long time. And like Rachel was always like really nice about that. And especially like when Clay would host me from when I was playing Don't Starve together, there was like plenty of times where my stream used to be like 6:30 till 8:30, and then I was supposed to stop, but I'd be like, oh, do you mind if I stay on, because like I got a big host. And I feel like that helped me a lot, being able to stay on, but also at the same time too kind of cut into a lot of the time that we should be spending together more or less. So I think like the things is like this is that people kind of like see the stream, they're like, oh, this person's almost only online for you know 6:30 to 8:30. That's only 2 hours, and then they take a break and they come back at 10:30 to 1 o'clock. Why don't they just stream for 6 hours all or 6 or 7 hours altogether? It's like that's really impossible. Like unless you basically ignore everybody in your life and just like stick to streaming, working, streaming, working, streaming, working, sleeping, it just doesn't work. So what I'm trying to do is kind of fill in the gaps for you guys to kind of be able to see like what happens when the stream ends and then when the stream starts again, right? So I've heard a lot of streamers talk about other streamers, people saying things like, oh, this person only streams for 2 hours, and how they they don't deserve to have like a lot of viewers. It's like you don't actually see what they're doing, or maybe there's reasons why they wanted to stream more, but you got to sacrifice things, and you also got to sacrifice other things as well too. You just kind of got to, it's like a give and take situation. So
You have to have balance with everything.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's one of those things where if you just stream all the time and then you forget about everybody else, you're gonna end up in a bad situation.
You
And
burn out.
yeah, and you'll end up burning out. Like, so when I first started streaming, like I kind of did that, and it was very like, I'll hang out with you guys next time, or, I'll hang out with you guys next time maybe. And all I could really think about was like streaming, 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 streaming. And I mean, even now, I still think about it all the time, but I now understand that I have a schedule, and when that schedule's over, then it's like, go do whatever. And like, it's a lot easier now that partnership has kind of became a thing. And I'll kind of explain that at the end of the video. But just to kind of give you a reason why Rachel's sitting next to me right now is because this video is kind of like mostly about her as well too, right? So yeah, so sacrifices. Make sure that if you are watching a streamer and you are like, wow, this streamer's on all the time, and they're always here when and they're always here when I need them to be, and stuff like that. Make sure you try to understand like that person's probably trying to like sacrifice quite a lot of their time, his or her time, in order to be there, and possibly sacrificing other people's time for them to be there as well too, because that it's a big thing, right? It's a big thing. So just kind of take that into consideration, anyways. Now the one thing is, when you are getting into when you are
Sorry, that was a weird noise.
yeah, I'm not too sure what that was. I think it's my phone just going crazy. When you are getting into a situation where you're doing this, and your significant other is kind of just like not understanding what Twitch really is, because that was a big thing for me. Is, I got into Twitch, and I didn't know if it would be good or if it would be bad. And I know my friends were very kind of like, they were never angry about the situation. I think they were more so confused or like that. But
No one's ever been like upset about it. I think people just don't understand.
yeah, I think it was more so like not understanding. It was kind of like, oh, like it started out where I was like, oh, I have my first 50 followers, or I have my first 100 followers, and I think the numbers, maybe didn't seem so like big at the time, and it was kind of like, oh, Travis, just make sure you don't forget about us. Make sure you don't forget about us. And I kind of got very wrapped up in the whole like Twitch situation at first. But once time went on, I kind of realized, okay, I got to make time for both things. So, definitely like a lot of arguments kind of came around that, just trying to figure out, okay, well, I'm sorry, like I really want to make Twitch work. But then the other thing was like, Rachel was like, well, we still have to have our time too, like, so just make sure that even though you might be arguing about certain things, make sure that like you kind of understand the other person's point of view, right? Because I mean, if you're just all one-sided and like, I have to do this, it's for my career, or I have to do this, it has to work, blah blah blah, like, once again, it goes back to understanding how the other person is for sure too. So
it took a while for us to kind of like work out like a good schedule that worked.
Yeah.
Like for both of us.
Right.
So like it's like you said, like sacrifice, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, it was one of those things where I felt very defensive about it, because I was like, it's gonna be great. I'm telling you, like, I really want to, like, I love Twitch a lot, like, and I still love it now, like, even more than I did before. And it definitely did pay off. But you just got to make sure that you don't just sacrifice everything. Like, if, for example, like I see, you can sometimes make a big leap on things and be like, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm just gonna like risk it all on Twitch. And sometimes that works out really, really well for people. But in certain scenarios, like, it's not viable at all. You can't just cut out everybody in your life and just expect to just, stream on Twitch and not have any like repercussions from that. So you got to make sure that you, like I said, you understand that friends, family, relationships are still there as well too. So that's why, certain schedules are, might be a little bit odd if you're looking at certain people's schedules and you're like, this person's on at 2 o'clock in the morning. Why are they on only at 2 o'clock in the morning? Well, maybe they can only be on that time because of certain things. So always kind of like look behind and take that into consideration. Also, if you're becoming a streamer, make sure that, you just don't take everybody for granted, that sort of thing, because you want to make sure that, you're still thinking about other people as well too. But yeah, so then, I mean, other than that, I mean, just like know that they can also help as well too. Like, I mean, there's countless times where I'd be writing an email for like Twitch or something like that, and I'm like, does this look okay? And then Rachel looks at it and she's like, oh my god, like, this is like such a huge run-on sentence, and like
no punctuation.
So it's one of those things where just because you think you're like, you might be doing the right thing when you're sending an email or whatever, just make sure that you kind of include, if you, like I said, if you're in a relationship and you really want the other person to kind of understand Twitch, include them in it. Be like, hey, hang out with me on Twitch for a little bit, come play some games, or hey, can you help me out with this? That way they kind of get the understanding of like what it really is, because otherwise they're just going to be in the complete dark about it and not really know what's going on. So I think that helps like big time for sure. So I mean, I know that when I first started streaming, I didn't really do that very much. And then near like the middle of it, when I was like, okay, things are actually starting to like pick up, can you really help me with this? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? And I'm like really glad that happened, because I feel like a lot of the stuff, especially proofreading alone, I mean, there's like definitely a lot of that stuff.
It's always good to like get a second opinion on certain things too. Like if you're just want someone to like tell you if it's coming off as professional, or like if it's coming off as like how you want it to.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, like, I know for me, I like whenever I write emails, it's just like as if I'm talking normally, right? I'm like, hey, how's it going today? Blah 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 blah. I'm like, and then I look back at it and I'm like, oh, it looks fine to me. But then when I send it to Rachel, she's like, no, like you have to like punctuate out that, because these people don't know you. They don't know how you are, right? So I guess we'll talk a little bit about how it kind of started and then kind of like progressed into almost like, where it is now. So when I first started streaming, there was like big times where, big goals were met. For example, like a new webcam. And I started to notice like, okay, this is actually like, I remember hitting my first goal and I think it was like 10 subs or something and being like super crazy excited about it, and like 100 followers. And, you message your friends like, I got 100 followers today. And it might not seem like a lot, but to them, but like to you, it's definitely a lot. Right. So, make sure that like when that does happen, guys, like even 50 followers, 100 followers, it really does matter like a ton. Like, and I mean, and it matters to that streamer a lot because that means that you're growing, right? That definitely means you're growing. But I'll focus in my other video, you can kind of listen to how that kind of is. This video is more so just like, how it feels, kind of getting to partnership like with somebody else that might not really know or might not really be part of your stream, that kind of sees the other side of the story. But yeah, like when for example, when I finally reached like that partnership application, so there was time. So here's the thing with Twitch is that it has to be 75 average viewers for you to apply. Okay, so that means that for you to actually apply for a partnership, you have to have 75 average viewers for 30 days. Most people just assume, oh, I have to have, 75 average viewers. Oh, that's really not that crazy. It's really competitive out there to get that. It's very, unless you either get, unless lucky, yeah. If you get lucky, you sign on one day and all of a sudden you're like, wow, people really love watching this game and I'm really the only one streaming it right now. I got there in early, but truthfully, nobody really gets lucky on Twitch. If somebody just has their computer on in their face and they're not interacting with chat, even though they're the first person to ever stream, let's say Fortnite or something like that, not necessarily they're going to get 1 million viewers right away. They're working towards that. So nobody really is truly lucky. But all in all, though, yeah, like if you do get that chance to where automatically get put the application in for partner right away, yeah, that's crazy. But actually getting 75 average viewers in a month is really, really tough because, one day, let's just say it's a Monday. Let's just say the Monday rolls around on like Christmas Eve or Christmas, and you had a full month of, 100 average, well, let's just say like, 80 people or something like that. All of a sudden, one day on a Monday or a few days in a row, you have an average of 17 or 20 people watching you. Well, that's going to like bring down your average like crazy, and it just completely destroys you because you're like, I was so close, like, oh, what the heck? And you start to kind of, you want to not get really lost in that number game. And like Rachel knows, like I got really lost in the number game. Like there'd be days where I'd be like, my average right now out of 75 is literally 74.98. And I remember looking at it, I'm like, 74.98. I can't even click the partnership application because it's at 74.98 out of 75. Imagine looking at that. And I was like, I remember one night like looking at that and I'm just like, I can't believe this, right? But that is why Twitch says things, don't focus on that, because even if you unlock it, you still are not eligible for it anyways. They could look at your channel and say, I'm sorry, you clearly are not professional to, receive that check mark, or I'm sorry, even though you have those numbers, you're just not there yet, So don't get really lost in those numbers because you definitely will. You will find yourself always looking at them and always wondering, why is it taking so long? Why can't my channel get there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, but obviously, like, I did get it. I did get it unlocked and I had a chance to apply for it the first time. And the first time it took about maybe 10 days. I remember it was on my birthday that I applied, and it was on the 27th of November that I got the email back, and the email was like, I'm sorry, you didn't meet our requirements, keep up the good work. And I was like, I remember I looked at it, I'm like, this does not make any sense. Like, I have 75 average viewers, but they don't really, not that they don't care, but they look
That's
at
like the minimum you have.
That's
to
like the
have,
minimum of what you have to have, right?
just for them to look at your application.
Yeah. And so it was one of those things where I was like, what the heck? Like, why is this happening? Like, why did I get denied, right? So I think it's one of those things that you have to kind of take with a grain of salt and realize that they're just trying to test, maybe Twitch is just trying to kind of see how you react to denial. Because if they deny you and then you're like, well, I'm never streaming again and bye, I'm out of here, they're going to look at that like, definitely not professional for what we want to do. So make sure when you get that, if you do get a denial right away, if you get lucky and you get it right away, then good for you. But if you do get the denial, don't, because I know for me, I took it, I was like, oh, I took it to heart and I was like, oh, great. Now I got to go stream and like, I'm probably not going to ever get partner and like, what the heck? And it was very heart wrenching. You know what I mean? Like I remember like that entire next day, cause I think it was, maybe it was on my birthday that I got denied. I don't know.
I don't remember.
I forget, but I remember I was super bummed out. And the next day I went to work and I was like, and this is before I changed my schedule and stuff. So I remember like coming on stream. I'm like, the one thing I never do on stream is like, I never show like negative emotions because I'm always like excited to stream and stuff like that. That doesn't mean like I forget everything that like happens behind the scenes, but I'm not going to come on stream and be like, hey guys, yeah, you know what I mean? And like be super bummed out because that's just, nobody wants to watch that garbage, So, and that's another thing too, is if you find yourself being super negative on stream, you really should not, you should really skip that day because you really don't want to be projecting that negativity on stream, right? So, but anyways, yeah, so that happened. And that lasted for like a good few days where I was like, Rach, I can't believe I got denied. And I kind of like, I took it really to heart and I really shouldn't have. The one thing is too, is, I know Twitch gets a lot of these emails like all the time, right? So probably thousands. Yeah. So when you reply to them, expect that chances are they may or may not get back to you with an answer as to why you got denied. So the thing is, like, I replied and I said, well, I don't understand. Like, my numbers are there. Like, can you do anything about this? Like, I've been working really hard. And they're like, well, everybody's working really hard for this. You're not the only one. So don't always expect a reply, and don't always expect the reply that you're looking for, because they're not gonna change their mind to be like, oh, well, oh, you're right. Okay, I see. They might. I don't know. I mean, in my experience, they never did from the response that I gave them, right? So, anyways, and so the way that it works is once you get it denied, you have 2 weeks to reapply. Okay, and most people, I did it. I jumped on the bandwagon, and as soon as those 2 weeks, boom, I applied right away, like 4 or 5 times. Anyways, and so most people will tell you wait the 30 days. Okay, people wonder why am I waiting the 30 days? Why wait the 30 days? I'll explain that at the very end. But so anyways, the next time I waited again and I reapplied, and then I think at this time I had maybe 80 average viewers or something. It was not much difference. And the reply that I got was, well, you're very inconsistent with like your viewership. Like we're seeing like a lot of drops and stuff. Yeah. Drops. And this is when kind of DST was going through the game that I was playing was going through like a lot of changes. And so that happened, and I replied and I said, well, I'm confused, like, okay, so what should I do? And they kind of give you like little tips and tricks, and they're like, well, you should try, maybe streaming for a little bit longer. And I was like, I just can't do it. So anyways, and so went back and forth, and didn't really get much of like a response. So then I decided, okay, well, I'm going to keep powering through it, and I'm going to keep streaming even more. Then something crazy happened, and the company, the game that I was playing went like with a big update, and which they had Twitch drops. And Twitch drops, if you're not familiar with them, every time somebody is watching your stream, they receive a drop in game for actually watching your stream. So it was just like this crazy influx of people watching. So my viewership went from like an average of 80 to like through the roof to like 150 average for the entire month. And so this was the thing. And then, but I still had leftover stuff from before, where every now and then I have like an average of 30 or 40 people. So what ended up happening was half my month was you have an average of 34, 45, 50 people. And then the other half of the month, the other 15 days was 150, 300, 500, some crazy numbers, because there was a lot of people in there. And so then I reapplied. Now, the problem with this is that I applied, okay, and I said, hey, you know what, my numbers were crazy good. I was like at 120, 140 average viewers, I think, or something like that, right? And the reply that I got was, because you have Twitch drops enabled, you are not eligible because we can't, like, the numbers don't reflect. Basically, what they were trying to say was that Twitch drops are almost like hosts and raids. And if you're a Twitch streamer, you know hosts and raids do not count towards your numbers in the end, because it's basically like if I'm a big streamer and I host up a small streamer and I give them 5 million viewers and then all of a sudden their average viewership is 75, Twitch is not going to look at that and be like, you're instantly partnership, right? So they basically said, well, we can't really consider this like proper. So I kind of went, at that point I was like, oh, come on. Like, I was like, I remember being super angry behind the scenes. I took the day off of streaming. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. But what I didn't take from it was what they're trying to say. All Twitch was trying to say is that, like, you are there. What you need to do is you need to take these new people that are coming to your stream and you need to convert them into viewers, meaning, hey, I'm here for a drop. Okay, cool, bye. But they still watch their stream. No, that person needs to, hey, how you doing today? How's it going? Nice to meet you. You know, we stream DSD all the time. Okay, now that person's more interested and comes back the next day, even though they may have already got that Twitch drop, right? So then that's when I went through the process of waiting a little bit longer, and I was like, okay, now the Twitch drops are kind of like no longer, they're not like they weren't at their peak moment anymore. And then that's when I was like, well, you know, I think it's time to actually reapply, because I knew what they were looking for. Also, when the last time, the last person that I got was extremely helpful. Like, she was like really, really nice. I remember she responded to every single one of my emails, and she was very helpful. And she was like, you know, you need to adjust your schedule, you know, try to stream for a lot longer. And at that point I was like, okay, like, I need to adjust my work schedule, which actually worked out better for me and Rachel, because I was no longer streaming 6:30 till 8:30. I was now streaming 2 or 2:30 till 6 or 6:30, and then having a 4-hour break and coming back at 10:30. So I had a longer stream at the beginning. Then I had a 4-hour break, and then I had, you know, my night stream that I have as well too.
We weren't like rushing through dinner, and then like our night wasn't split into 2-hour.
Yeah, because like basically this is what would happen. Okay, so for a year and a half, my schedule, or no, like a year, I would say, my schedule was literally, I would work 10 till 4, 10 till 5. I'd go to the gym. I'd come home at 6 o'clock. I'd eat super fast. I'd come on for 6:30. I'd stream. We'd watch a show for 2 hours. I'd come back and stream 10:30 to 1 o'clock, go to sleep, and that would repeat the cycle every day.
So pretty much we would just see each other because I don't get home from work until like 5:30.
Yeah.
We'd see each other for like maybe an hour. Right. And then again for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
Yeah, exactly. So it was crazy, you know, and so
it was hard.
It was like really hard. So there would be times where when I got hosted by Clay, I'd be like, do you mind if I stay on till 9? And you might people might think, well, that's not a big deal, but it's like, well, then we only get to hang out for an hour, you know?
And it was hard to be like, no, because like I knew that it was like important.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're just like, oh,
I know.
Like it was so tiring.
Right. So the biggest thing for me was like, I remember the biggest thing for me at the time was, well, like, you know, this is working, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, and that's why I say you got to always make sure that you like look at the other side of things too, right? But so then I finally decided, well, enough is enough. Like, the night streams were really good because I did like them a lot better because they were only 2-hour sessions, then take a break and then come back at nighttime. But obviously they were interfering like crazy. So now I adjusted my work schedule. So now I basically work until the early afternoon. I come on, I stream at 2 or 2:30 till 6 o'clock at night. Then we spend 4 hours together, and then it's 10:30 to 1 o'clock. So, you know, it ended up, I have like a longer session. So I have a 4-hour session. So that went through the process, reapplied. And
it ended up working better
it worked out better for everything.
For you as well, right?
Yeah. And so then that happened, and the application went for like almost 45 days, and then obviously you guys know that we got at the Twitch partner. But I remember getting the email, and I was like, ah! And I got the email, and I'm like, ah! And I like got up and I ran around the house.
Didn't actually say anything, just got up and like literally ran away.
Yeah,
screaming.
Yeah.
Threw your phone.
Oh yeah, I threw my phone on on the couch.
What is happening?
Yeah. But yeah, so like that's the thing, guys. Like when you look at streams like this, Like even now, I go to work 10 till well, whatever. I try to go to the gym for a half an hour, 45 minutes if I can. Then I come on and I stream. I like literally have enough time to come home, eat for 10 minutes, then I'm on streaming, then I'm done streaming, then we eat, then we hang out for a bit, and then I'm back on streaming again. So, when you're watching streams like this, guys, for example, if you're watching me, you're watching anybody out there, know that like behind the scenes, like sacrifices are being made. It's not just, I know not every stream. Like if I was like in high school or like, even high school, like people in high school make sacrifices too. But if I was in a position where I didn't have to worry about a job, I didn't have to worry about anything else, I wasn't in a relationship, I was just by myself and I was just like streaming casually, there's really not much to worry about in that sense. But know that when people are doing like streams that they're trying to make successful, they are making the sacrifices, and essentially I'm making them for you guys, right? And for myself as well too, because I want the channel to grow. So I hope this kind of just gave you like a behind the scenes of like, this is what we went, is still now. It's still now, but it's a lot better now for sure. I mean, and here's hoping that eventually it'll grow and get bigger and better and stuff like that. And all that other stuff. So yeah, like I said, I mean, now it's basically, you guys know that we have partnerships, so that's really cool. And I think it's a little bit easier now to kind of just like breathe. I remember that day that I got the thing, I'm like, oh, it's like a whole like huge weight off your shoulders, just not having to just, now I can stream, and if I have one person watching me, it's not going to affect anything. It's not going to be like, well, now I can't. Now the whole month is ruined, and now it doesn't really matter. I mean, it still does matter. I still always worry. I'm like, people are still going to watch me and stuff like that, and all that other things. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I just want to give you guys more of like a behind the scenes footage to kind of see exactly like kind of how I've been doing it, and make sure that if you are looking to stream, or if you're watching streamers right now and you're like, how do these people do it? They're always on all the time. Well, it's schedules like this that, you got to compromise with other people. You can't just like shut everybody out and be like, I just want to stream, because that doesn't really get you anywhere. So, but overall, I mean, like, just to take from it is like, we definitely did it, but you got to make sure that you do it together, and you can't just do it all by yourself, because it just won't work that way. And you'll end up just fighting with yourself or with other people, and not really getting yourself anywhere. And you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're like hurting other people's feelings, and then you're coming on and just going, well, it is what it is, because that's not the case. You've got to make sure that it works for everybody, right? So, but I am glad that it is going good now. I mean, the schedule seems fine. I am kind of cutting it a little bit close when I leave work and stuff here, but it's good for now. I think if like, I mean, if the stream died tomorrow and nobody cared about watching me, obviously I'd just go back to how my old schedule was. But thanks to you guys are always supportive and hanging out with me and supporting the stream and stuff. So yeah, so thanks to you guys. Thanks to Rachel for being amazing and making sure that she was very calm the majority of the time. Kind of, I don't know, you know what I mean? Try to be calm. Yeah. But yeah, guys, so like I said, what to take from this video, make sure that you kind of look both sides. You don't just immediately stream, forget everybody else. Don't forget your family, don't forget your friends, because they all matter. Relationships, all that stuff matters. And know that, there's definitely ways to make it work so everybody's happy. And you got to make sure you do that, because if everybody's happy, you're going to be able to be happy, and you're not going to be upset on stream, or you're going to be trying to hide emotions on stream that might get in the way of making your stream look, seem better. So guys, thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks, Rachel, again, for being here. And yeah, okay, guys.